Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste, namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadguru Shimuji Baba ki.
Yeah.
My sister's come first time in 5 years. She's feeling completely strange. I can tell what's going on. Okay, I'm happy to take questions. If there are any questions, I can look at them. You can come up on the mic or you can type it out. Question? You know, what used to happen in Ramesh's house is that he would come, and then if he would find that there are no questions, he would go. So, as soon as I said that, Ritima says, can I clarify something which I was asked? Come, my dear, I've unmuted your mic. You can say.
Yeah, Father, and the question is also because I don't want you to go. Yes. Yesterday, it was that talk where you were saying, can the being become an object? Yeah. And then there you said the source from which all this is coming is one, this one source. And then later on, you clarified it as the mind. And then you said the small mind, which is telling you the idea of separation. Yeah. So when I was saying one source, when all this comes from one source, we mean that the one source, the self, right? Even these ideas or any idea comes from that one source.
Yes.
And you said, you have to be really clear of this point. And so I just wanted to clarify. It is that one.
I'm clear on my own point. What is the point again?
Okay. I'm going to, you continue and I'm going to try and pull out the transcript and then just copy paste it over there and maybe you, when you were explaining, that the being, you made us come to our beingness and then said that, can this become an object?
Yes.
And you said that it can't, and how would it become an object? If it was, so imagine how would it become an object?
Yes. Yes.
And from there, you said that the only way was that that you would pick up a pretense of something, of being a someone, yeah. And that these thoughts or this pretense also probably comes from this one source. I mean, these ideas to become. That's where I got confused. I mean, that's where I.
Of course, because okay, good. I get a little bit of what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, as Bhagavan said, the I am itself, your being, has no struggle, has no trouble. It's only when we consider ourselves to be something, I am something, that becomes the fertile ground for all of these notions to come, these ideas that we have about ourselves, and especially about how my life should be. You see? So once you can start taking yourself to be a something, an object, then all this comes. But even this pretense, you see, where the mind, even these notions, ultimately come from the same source. Otherwise, then there would be two, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Even this play, even this notion of ego, even the notion of separation,
Yeah.
must ultimately come from the oneself. You see? And that's why we call it the play. We say that, okay, we give these explanations which have no actual meaning. They just serve to remove the question, actually. So we can say that if you're all there is, it is
Yeah.
just boring for you, so you need some leela, you need some entertainment.
Yes.
You create this idea that I am something, and that something is related to name, with form, and then when we start to feel like I'm a limited something, start to believe that I'm a limited something, then something in our heart still knows that I cannot be this limited object. You see? And the mind's version of trying to become unlimited is to try and gather more and more in terms of relationships, in terms of material objects. You see? So nobody is really satisfied with what they have because they start with the pretense that they are limited to begin with, but something nags them from within, and that limitation doesn't sit right for anyone. They just try to make themselves the mind's version of God, which means to possess everything that they can, to have the best relationship, to have the best body, to have the best material object, and
Yeah.
then ultimately also to come to the best liberation or the best freedom. So the source of all of this play is also the very same consciousness. It's just like the waves are all made up of the ocean itself, but the ocean has given itself the capability to believe that it is an individual wave. So the insight that all of you have in satsang is that all of these boundaries are notional. All of these sensations that you experience, we use them to create a notional boundary for ourselves and say that I am this. And then using this reference point, then we start to play in this way. The ocean first considers itself to be the wave. The I am, which is unlimited, considers itself to be I am something. And then I am this, I am that, I want this, I want that. My life should be like this, my relationship should be like this. Then all the pretense of individuality plays out. But in this very moment, you have no sense of separation. This individuality is not original to you, it's not natural in your existence. So we pick up this trouble moment to moment. But even the source of this seeming trouble is just the one self itself. The sage Vashish said in the Yoga Vashish that to remain motionless is easier. She just giving me this strange look, so like, oh, it's trying to sound so wise. So, like Vashish says, to remain motionless is easier than crumpling a petal in your hand. So, this is this is our this is it is that easy to remain motionless. It is our starting point in this very moment. So nothing forces you to pick up the pretense I am something. Nothing forces us to believe that we are this limited object. Our unlimitation is completely apparent, but you don't have the concept of it. You cannot have a concept of it. So no concept truly replicates your truth. So actually, the I am something is not just a definition that we feel okay. It's making a definition about my body or my mind. It is to make a definition about anything because everything is just an appearance within your I am, within your being. So when we give this notion to anything, to any object, with the presumption that I know it in a conceptual way, then that becomes the root of all individualization. well, I lost you all in the sense that if I say this is up and this is down, without any reference necessarily to a person here, you see, but even that makes a like a locational reference in a sense of distinction. It makes in the I amness, which is beyond time and space, we try to create a notional boundary of up and down. So it is not just the labeling of this body being this way, these desires or aversions being this way. It is just anything that we presume to know mentally, which seems to become the source of this individualization. That's why notionless existence is such a beautiful term. It's like a beautiful notion in itself, but it's one of those superpowered bonds, superpowered notions which we use to remove all other conditioning. So this, what Bhagavan said, this I am is without trouble. It is only the sense of individualization, individualized consciousness, I am something, that becomes the source, the root of all these things. Notice right now whether you are something. Originally, in the moment, are you something? Do you have a name originally? Do you have a boundary? Like does something define you originally in what you are in this very moment? So, what do you need now a concept for? You even need a concept for normal body functioning, like breathing. If you did not have the concept breathing, would you stop breathing? Would your hearing stop if you did not know what hearing was? So existence is completely taking care of itself. So my master says, let existence take care of existence, or leave your existence to existence. It is already doing all of this. In your very existence, in the light of your existence, all this play is moving on its own. So what support you want to give to God or to existence? The one that is playing with this entire universe and many universes. Do you feel like it needs some support from the non-existent idea we have about ourselves? So when we make a conclusion, we feel that no, what is not enough. The isness is not enough. It needs the aid of my idea of what life should be, or who I am, or what the world is. But those conclusions are not needed. That's the simplest way to surrender. Because sometimes we struggle with this surrender. How do I surrender? The simplest way to surrender is don't make a conclusion. It is possible to live a notionless existence. But the trouble that many of you are having is that after hearing all of this, then you're getting into the cycle of self-judgment. Because you hear that, okay, notionless existence is the best, then it can feel like, so then why do I keep picking up these notions? Like we were speaking the other day. So then it can be like, so then why do I keep doing this? But that is another notion. So then it becomes a vicious cycle. Okay? Suppose you picked up the notion, oh, I wish I had this in my life. Okay? It is fine. Like I call it the starter. That is the starter. But the dessert with the most calories is the guilt. Why am I still being full of notion? Why can't I drop it? So, so That's why I keep reassuring all of you that for the best amongst us, the best who have ever lived, have come into this realm, have had moments where they do pick up notions. Even the sages pick up notions from time to time. But they don't usually pick up the desert. It's like, oh, why did I do that? I must not be free yet. So, so somewhere at the root of all of that is like a individual self-concern. At the root of that is the concern of whether I have got it or not. But the I in this case is still the one with boundary. It is still personal. So as long as that is there, then you continue to judge yourself and say, no, no, I am not there yet. I am not following others' pointings enough. I am not following what I'm hearing in Satsang or something like this. Then that becomes vicious. Then again notion comes and whole cycle starts and more and more. Then you feel like, oh, I'm really stuck now. Is it really helping? Is it? Then you can get into this sort of vicious cycle. But actually, just forget about it. Come back to the originalness, the motionlessness of this moment. This moment is your best friend. But then the mind has picks up its sleeve. It says, yes, yes, this moment is fine. Like this was a conversation we were having that day. Somehow it is just replaying itself because I feel like it's important for many of you. In that, so Saranya was saying that this moment is fine, Father, because I'm with you. But I know what is going to happen, or this always happens that when I leave, then again I start picking up and I cannot remain like this. So then I said, but why you want to spoil this moment for something that is going to happen in the future? So if you know, for example, that you're going to fall into a ditch tomorrow, then why you want that falling to seem like it must spoil this moment already? It's better that you don't worry about that. And it can sound like a simple thing, but actually all of us know that death is coming. Ultimately, the end of this body is going to be the funeral. the, the burning on the funeral pyre or the burying under the ground. That is what's going to happen with this. So, if that is that anyway, then why do we even bother with anything at all? If freedom was for this body, you know, then why would we bother with it? Because it's going to die anyway. What use is that freedom? The freedom was for an individual. This individual has only one end, which is death. So why would we then bother with it anyway? So there is only one thing ever, actually, which is God now or me now. It's like these are the two main modes of operation. It's not true like this, but I have to just say these things to clarify something. That consciousness is only operating in one of two ways. Is God now, there's no sense of individuality, just being itself, or picking up the notion of me and then inevitably playing with the sense of suffering. Now, many of us feel like we can live a bit dangerously, in the sense that I'm going to I'm going to play with the sense of me. But the minute the trouble comes, I'm just going to become like in this God now. You see, this is the you feel like you have the ultimate tools at your disposal. So you feel like, let me play with the me, but I have the tools at my disposal. So the minute the ow starts to come, the suffering starts to come, I will get to God. You see, and I will escape it. Now this is kind of a dangerous game. You see. And many times you don't even realize you're playing this. So in this very moment, you want to meet the most enlightened being that you'll ever meet. In this very moment, you want to meet the most enlightened being that you'll ever meet. How to have this auspicious meeting? You have to meet yourself without any interpretation or judgment. Without any interpretation or judgment. And as these interpretations and judgments come, you just have to let them come and go. This being that you're meeting, this presence that is here, is the one consciousness, is the Atma, is the beingness. It needs nothing. It is not bound. Don't meet a photocopy version of yourself. Don't meet an idea of yourself. Meet yourself in your true openness. This being that is here has been understood to be something personal, something limited. But it truly isn't. We look for God everywhere, but actually God has just been here as your own living presence. But if you judge, then it will seem like this God is personal. It will seem like there is a person here. So it is just an addiction, just a habit that I must consume. I must believe what my thought is telling me. But this being that you're encountering now as your own presence, there's no concept of past or future. He is not trying to hold on to this state. Even freedom and bondage have no meaning for this one. So we have a question from Anil. He says, Beloved Father, what to do when both God and meow play looks very distant? Beloved Father, what to do when both this sense of God now, beingness itself, and the personal play both look very distant? But then the what to do also looks very distant. It cannot actually be that the sense of consciousness and, of course, the personal play start to look distant, not applicable. But the question of doership still remains. So maybe your question is not what to do. Maybe there is no question in that at all. We're just trying to make a statement in the garb of a question. My question is about that state in which even being dissolves. Nothing can be spoken about that. But then I do not feel like talking to anyone. That doesn't sound like bad news. Getting a little used to it, still too strange. Usually what happens then when you encounter this being, it's not usual that the mind just gives up. It also has some trump cards up its sleeve. So we say, but yes, it's so clear that my presence is unlimited. It needs nothing. It wants no freedom because the bondage itself does not apply. But where are the fireworks? I was promised that all my chakras will open. I will have unlimited bliss. There is, and basically, it is not even the wanting of an experience, but it is wanting of a certificate that because this happened, therefore it must be true. Is it? It is more like this confirmation or validation that we are looking for in the form of an experience, not the experience in itself. Because at least if I said this, meet yourself empty of judgment, and you'll meet the most enlightened being ever, and you just looked within and you came to your presence, and this deep bliss started arising, then you could conclude, oh, then that must be it because the bliss came. But the trouble with that is that everything that comes goes. So then what will happen is that when the bliss goes, then you will say, I had it and now I've lost it. That's why my master says sometimes the sober seeing is the best. Because when it comes with experiences, and many of you are having and will have these experiences, but the point is then that becomes trouble. Because you say, when I looked with you yesterday, then I had such an experience of just love, just love. But now today when I woke up, I was not feeling love. Therefore, then my freedom must be gone. So we use these things as conclusions. And sometimes maybe it is better than for these things to not happen. And we just look at what we truly are without any byproducts, without there being any need for any byproduct. That is why when I say, do you want truth for truth's sake? Do you want the self for self's sake, or do you want it for the byproduct, the experiences that happen? And I also want to tell you that if it is an experience, it will come and it will go. The self is not an experience. Your being is not an experience.
Does the same go for the experience of clarity?
The experience of clarity, you have to define a little more about what you mean.
It's like clear seeing. Like,
Yeah. So how does this seeing become unclear?
Like sometimes it's like the thoughts and feelings can slide by easily,
Yeah.
and then that's like it brings about a sense of clarity,
Yeah.
and it's like they're seen. Another time it's like it feels like it's very cloudy.
Yeah. So that which is aware of both clarity and cloudiness, is that ever cloudy? Yeah. So as you're meeting yourself, you'll find that there is a seeing, a capital S seeing, which is beyond even our perceiving, that which is aware of sight, of inner sight or outer sight, which is aware of hearing, taste, smell, all of these things. But it itself is not dependent on anything. Like a like the functioning of our attention, which can seem like at some moments is the content is very clear, and sometimes it can seem very blurry. But you that witnesses the functioning of attention is independent of either of these states. So, so once you see that you are that, and there is not so much concern about, okay, do I have clarity? Because even this, like the quickest way to become cloudy is to try and hold on to clarity. Yeah. Okay? I must always have clarity. Yeah, I hope it doesn't go. Or it's like this now. So I hope it's like that. Is it keeps like that? Then what is that? That is cloudiness. Is it? So if you see that myself in reality is unconcerned with these moving of sometimes high tide, sometimes low tide, it's unconcerned with the movement of attention, then uh, you will see that this question is truly not applicable for you. And yet, in the play of life, you will find that something seems to be mostly in clarity. Right? So you can't approach it this way, trying to hold on to the clarity to keep the clarity, but you can approach it to with the sense of finding the source of all of this. What is at the center of all of this? You will see that this is independent of any blurriness or clarity. And then in your outward manifestation, it will mostly play as clarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So clarity is kind of like a byproduct.
It's a byproduct, yes.
I think that's the stickiest notion.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like
the notion could be that I have to come to or create some clarity for myself. How would you do that?
it's like the notion comes that I need to like catch the things that come in.
Yes, but the seeking or the attempting, the trying to get itself is the source of so much confusion.
Yeah. It's like I'm seeing now like the value in having this said again and again, because I realize when I'm left alone and when I'm not following the guidance, it's like, okay, I'm staying notionless, but it's slightly distorted by this notion I'm speaking about. It's slightly distorted, and sometimes I
These
don't even
notions can
realize.
seem very subtle and we don't realize.
It's very subtle.
But life pulls it out of us. In notionlessness, there is not even the notion that I am being notionless. Because that itself is a notion. Because once we have something like that, then we set ourselves goals that I have to hold on to this, I should do that, or should not do like that. You see, then we make a journey out of this, which is not really a journey at all. It is more intimate than sitting where you're sitting right now. What is easier than sitting where you're sitting right now? What is easier than even that? Hmm? Knowing that you're sitting. What is this knowing? Is there anything easier than this knowing? Huh? Say, okay, suppose it's being. So this being is whose being? So we said, what is the simplest? And we'll discuss that knowing small k or big k, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, it's a good answer. You say being. So being is simpler than even sitting where you are right now. Now, this being is what everyone is looking for. This being is what everyone is looking for. Is it too simple? In a way, we can say like that. It is just doubt that we have to deal with. Because the doubt will come and say, but beautiful story which Ramesh was sharing. He was saying a king came to a sage and said, I'll give you half my kingdom if you show me where God is. The sage said, I'll give you twice your kingdom if you show me where God is not. It's just that switch. He's just constantly in this, like this beautiful interaction with Papaji and somebody who came to Satsang with him, where he said, Papaji, can you show me God? And Papaji said that If you drop doubt, then you will see God. I said, what do you see now? And he said, I don't see God. Babaji said, I said, drop doubt. Don't is doubt. What do you see now? And then he said, I see God. This is not wordplay. Not just wordplay. It's just a switch of perspective. We have mislabeled things for so long that as you come to this unlabeled life, you wonder at the nonsense you used to believe. You really wonder how you considered yourself to be a separate individual when all there is God. Even those who are spiritual mostly have this concept that everything is God but me. Everything is God, but I am not. I have to get to God, or I am seeking God. This itself is arrogance. It can seem like a very humble thing actually, but it itself is arrogant that I can separate myself from God, that I am a separate individual who has been running my life. Nobody has met this individual ever. Nobody has ever met this person who is running your life. All you have met is your own presence, your own being. So the first set of doubts are about this. Where is my special experience? Fireworks, bliss, or something like that. The other set of doubt is that how can I live like this? How can I live like this? But you have the one that is presuming that it has been living with all these notions has never lived.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up a little bit more on what you said. It's like after what you said, it's like the mind's now like thinking of the ways, like another strategy
Yes.
to put in place when there is cloudiness. It's like, okay, when there is cloudiness, and then when the mind says that it's trying to get rid of cloudiness, it's like trying to count. No, it's like, okay, be watchful of the mind when it's trying to get rid of cloudiness.
I know it'll keep attempting to try and portray itself as your friend. The mind will not give up. You say, okay, this is what you want. Okay, let me help you with this. Use me. I'm your friend. Now, you have to ask the mind, how will you help me sit where I'm sitting right now? If your existence is more simple than that, is more basic, more fundamental than that, because you have to be to sit. Your existence is the substratum. So if you're sitting effortlessly, then what effort, what help do you need to be? And this being is taking good care of itself, completely fine. It only seems to trouble itself when it plays with this, its own child called the mind. Yesterday we were talking about this thousand-handed monster from the Yoga Vasishtha. Thousand-handed monster from the Yoga Vasishtha. Each of these hands has a weapon. And this one is running around asking for help and it's actually hitting itself with these hands. This is the nature of our mind. So then the sage said that I went to this one and said, but who are you? And in this one, the question was accepted, and all the hands started falling off, and suffering went away. But in another instance like that, the sage met this thousand-handed monster, and the monster said, but I'm asking you for help, and you are troubling me more with this question, who am I? You see? Stay away from me. It can sound like an attack. You can have many variations of this. The sage might ask you, who are you? You might say, but what will I get once I've asked this? You realize the silliness of this question. We don't know who we are, and yet we are more concerned about what that unknown will get. What will I get? We don't know who this I is. We're like, what's the point of this? What will I get? So we're willing to live in a presumed I, then suffering is bound to be our companion. That is just the design of this world. God playing as if it is an individual entity has set this alarm clock for itself, which is suffering. So the me is bound to have a ow. Beloved Father, can I come in to clarify on who is asking whom on what to do? No, I don't feel you can come because I don't feel like the question is sincere. I feel like the question is for something else which maybe you are also not recognizing clearly. All the answers you have, but this need to be seen. This is what plagues you. And you feel like you will come to your end of your suffering once you are truly seen for what you are. But this is not true. So I don't want to indulge that play anymore. So what is the instruction? You said from your experience presumably that you wanted to speak about that state in which even being dissolves. And then I said that there's nothing truly that can be said about that. So if it is your experience, then you say that, but then I don't feel like speaking anything to anyone. And I said, that does not sound like bad news. That is the instruction. There is no way that you can use the discovery that you're having. You're discovering that you are the boundless ocean, but you want to use it as a coconut body. This is just a primal addiction to the what's in it for me. It's like we're discovering that I have no limitation, I'm not in time and space. So now what do I do? If the I on, in both parts of the beginning and the end of the sentence the same I am discovering that I am beyond time and space, beyond this universe, beyond any limitation. Now what do I do? So why you picked up this I again? If you are beyond time and space, if you're not the doer or desirer. So to mix these two I's, then again becomes suffering. You feel like Advaita can be a strategy. I just discover what I am and then I will have the best life. I will have the best life. This is the thing. This I is the chameleon eye. Guruji says this I is the chameleon eye. You can use it for the limited one. You can use it for the absolute. Guruji says the God says I am, and even the devil says I am. What does I truly represent? What is at your center? What is your essence? This body is not the same body that was born. Every cell is different. Every thought you have about yourself now is different from the thought that you had earlier. So neither the body nor the mind. What is at your center? What has remained unchanging? The sages, they've given us such beautiful ways to inquire. The sages said, if you're looking for something that is real, find that which is the unchanging and which is your direct insight. Actually, this much instruction is enough for any satsang. Find that which is unchanging and is your direct insight, an intuitive insight. So, what have you found which is unchanging? So the sages in Vedanta, they used to use this term called Viveka. Viveka is like Nitya Nitya Viveka, which means that to distinguish between that which is real and that which is unreal. And they defined very clearly what they meant by real and unreal. They said that which remains unchanging, only that is real. And that which is the fruit of your direct insight cannot just be an idea of something unchanging. You can't just say Brahman or the absolute or the soul or Atma or something. It has to be your direct insight. So that's how they define the real, Nitya. When they said the unreal is that which is in the realm of change. Everything is constantly changing. Is Anitya. And to distinguish between these two and not be attached to that which is changing is true discrimination. This discrimination, English is not the best translation for Viveka. It's like a positive discrimination, an intelligent discrimination between that which is real and unreal. So don't attach to anything which is unreal. Is what the sages have advised in Vedanta. So, in the way of saying what I said the other day, which is that you don't be concerned with anything phenomenal, and I will take care of the rest. But if you want to have one foot on the ground and board this spaceship, how are you going to be? You're going to feel like completely stretched out and torn. You want to come on this voyage with me beyond time and space, but you also want to hold on to that individual me, which is very much an object in time and space. How is that going to work out for you? Yeah, try boarding a bus by keeping still one foot on the floor and try to board it. How does it feel? Won't be fun. So you have to know in a way what you're signing up for. What you're signing up for is the, the willingness to give up every idea you have about yourself. The willingness to give up everything that you think you know about yourself. Because that's what keeps us believing that we are individuals or the ego. If you ask even a layman, most people will say, but I'm not egoistic. Then they say, but do you believe that you're a person? They say, of course I do. What do you mean? Everyone is a person. So if you were to tell them that this idea of being a person itself is ego, then it can seem very strange to most. Because the ego has become, the term has become like very arrogant or some aspect. When we use the word he's very egotistical, then it can sound like you're saying he's very arrogant. No, it's actually ego means the sense, the idea of separation, the idea of individuality. And it is the predominant idea in this realm, in this world. It is the deepest addiction that I am this person, I am this individual. All those who are willing to give up everything that they think they're right about, all those who are willing to give up everything that they think they're right about, it will seem like there is no joining for you. The truth is readily available. But all those who feel like I want to keep these things that I'm right about and also find God, maybe for them it will seem like a stretched out way. And everything that you're right about in the sense of You think you know how it should be, what should happen, even whether you are free or bound. What anything is, Guruji said, I'll just end with this. That one part of what he said is enough. He said, nothing in this world has inherent meaning. Nothing in this world has inherent meaning. Therefore, what he means is that we cannot conceptually know anything at all, because nothing in the world has inherent meaning. It is just meaning that we have given to it. And if we are not ready to give up on these ideas that we think we know, then it will seem like this will be a stretched out flow. It could be stretched out in many ways. If it seems too wobbly to live without giving anything any meaning, then we can use some tools. Like if you have a even slightly devotional temperament, you can just say everything is my master's problem, everything is my father's problem. Guru Kripa Kevalam. If you truly imbibe this in your heart, that everything is my master's grace, all suffering is only that which we have not included yet in the master's grace. It is only that. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Sadguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevalam.